Well, for the second weekend in a row, Plymouth Argyle take on the league's bottom side. But if last Saturday is anything to go by, it is not a given that the points will be returning to home park today. Argyle fans will definitely have fond memories of playing Burton Albion. April 2023 is a highlight in the club's recent history. That Niall Ennis goal enough to see off the Brewers and clinch promotion back to the Championship. However, Argyle have never won at the Pirelli Stadium, something they will want to change this afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. I am Charlie Price. This is the pre-match show for Matchday Live on Argyle TV, gearing up to another away game. And who would have thought it? Confidence is a little bit on the rise away from home. Been starved of moments like this, but it could be the first time since the back end of that 2022-23 season that Argyle win back-to-back away matches. They will have to overcome a hoodoo of Pirelli Stadium. They've never won there before, but Burton are bottom and have just one win to their name so far this season. You can get all of your match passes from our website right now. Video and audio streaming is available for you depending on where you are in the world. Just head to pafc.co.uk for all of the details. And helping me through this afternoon is the former Argyle defender, Katie Middleton. And interesting one, Katie, this, because on paper, you'd be saying Argyle should win this. Bottom of the table, side that haven't won since the opening day, sides that haven't scored at home since the opening day. However, it's Argyle.
Yes, however, it's Argyle. Yeah, I mean, it's an opportunity today, isn't it, to, I guess, right the wrongs of last weekend. Sometimes I think fans maybe kind of going and looking at the table and think, it's a bottom of the table side. When it's this early in the season, obviously it's difficult to necessarily put too much on that anyway. Burton are a side that probably struggled last season, just finished outside of the relegation zone. So you'd look at it hopefully with some optimism that, as I say, we can right the wrongs of last weekend. We can get back into, the previous couple of games before that had been great. You pick up 6 points out of 6 and, you get bottom of the table here at home and you think we push on from here. And then that's been the issue this season, isn't it? Is that consistency. So, hopefully today, I think it's going to be a difficult game. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. And I think whoever gets the first goal will probably come out on top.
Tends to be the case for Argyle that if they score first, they win. If they concede first, they lose. That has happened this season in the league.
Yep.
And on the fact that Burton being bottom of the table, there is a little kind of asterisk or caveat to that. They've only played 7 matches, so they've played 2 fewer than everybody else. And they also got a valiant, almost actual, maybe even a win last weekend, but a valiant point away at Huddersfield. Arguably had the better chances, and that can't be sniffed at. They're one of the favoured teams in the league. Yeah,
and without a doubt, a great result for them. They've obviously struggled to score goals, but I think defensively, they've not been too bad. They've not conceded loads. They've, I think, maybe conceded 10. We've conceded 18 or 19 this season. So, when you look at defensive records, actually, they're far better than we have been so far. So, I think, they, as I say, they don't concede a lot, but they also don't score a lot. So that's where they're struggling at the minute, I think, is the other end of the pitch. So can we go there with that sort of mindset of, we try to be difficult to beat, but fans want to see us play a more attacking game than we did last weekend. We lacked that creativity, we lacked that spark last weekend. So who's going to be in there to give us that today?
Well, let's find out, shall we? Let's take a look at the Argyle side. All conversations really around team selection would have been around this man, Connor Hazard, whether he would be included today, whether Luca Ashby-Hammond would keep his place in goal. Obviously, Connor came back in midweek for the game against Spurs under-21s. But who has Tom Cleverley gone for? Well, he's gone for Connor Hazard, handing him his first league start of the season. He's also given him the armband, one of 2 changes from last Saturday, 6 in total from midweek. The other change from last weekend sees Owen Asani come into the starting lineup and Owen Dale drop out of the squad altogether. So similar formation we'd expect from Argyle. Asani just filling in that gap in behind Talai. But Connor Hazard in goal, Katie. It was the conversation. It was the call, and he's gone for it. He's chucked the number 1 in when he's available.
Yeah, and I think for me it's the right call. I think Luke Ashby-Hammond probably got a little bit more stick maybe than he deserved early in the season. I think he's settled a lot in the last few games and probably hasn't done too much wrong. But I think it's an important decision from your manager to say, okay, who is the number 1? Who is going to play consistently if they're fit? And for me, Con Hazard is the better goalkeeper. So I think it's the right decision. He's obviously been around at the club for a little while as well. He obviously has a lot of trust in him to give him the armband as well. So for me, you'd expect to see, Connor Hazard probably retain that place and stay in goal if he stays fit.
He played on Tuesday. He didn't have loads to do in the game. He made a couple of quite good saves, conceded a couple of goals as well. I suppose the question will be, is that enough kind of game preparation before a league game? But you're never going to know, really, are you, until you chuck him in? Yeah,
and he's never going to get it unless he plays. True. So, I think it's really difficult if he's not playing matches. You can't get match fit, and it's not like an outfield player where you potentially bring him on for 20 minutes, half an hour here or there to get a bit of game time. So, if he's fit, he's ready. If he's sat on the bench last week, he obviously played in midweek. So for me, he's fit, he's ready. He should be chucked into the starting lineup.
And he also last season, he was one of those players that Argyle would be depending on quite a lot of the time. He made one of the most amount of saves in the league, even though he didn't play in every game.
Yep.
And that says a lot about the defence maybe, but he was in those huge moments, big games, he was quite often there, and he stood up to it, didn't he?
Yeah, definitely. And I think he's obviously a tall guy who can be someone who can come and command the box. And, when you're under a little bit of pressure, can he be the one who comes out, claims the ball, just takes the pressure off the back four a little bit, or back three, whatever we're playing. And, can he be that sort of calming presence a little bit? He's probably... Is he better with his feet? I don't know, again, a difficult one to maybe call, and as to how he can get us playing out from the back. Again, sometimes in the past it's been, he's a little bit slow in terms of decision making, getting the game going again. So, I think that's something that they'll want to sort of build on. But again, you can't do that unless you're playing with the players in front of you. So, yeah, a good opportunity for him today to get back into the starting 11 and retain his place.
Yeah, goalkeeping was one position. The other area was creativity. One area it could come from, potentially, Law McCabe, we saw glimpses of it. Jamie Patterson back on the bench, he no doubt will bring it. But Barley Mumba has shown bits and pieces this season. You'd want maybe a little bit more from him, but he could be a key today. He could be one of those players that could create something.
Yeah, and I think that's about the whole of the team's mindset as well. I think if you're getting Barley Mumba higher up the pitch and into those more attacking areas, then he can make things happen, and we've seen it obviously many times before in games where he cuts in off that left side and he goes on those mazy little runs inside, and can he get shots away, can he feed the ball into the strikers, and but if we're negative from the outset, it means he sits way deeper, and therefore our whole outlet is stifled because he's not high enough up the pitch. Same on the other side, if we're positive and you can get Matti Soranola higher up the pitch. Those are the players where, generally speaking, they're probably going to have the most space on the pitch. So if we can get the ball into them and we can get them doing things with it, the likelihood is that things will happen. But I think it's also that sort of creativity in that kind of number 10 role, I guess. And where does that come from? Who does that come from today? To link up with Talai, again, to try and create those opportunities and make things happen. Yeah,
well, goals have been a problem, as Katie mentioned, for the home side, Burton Albion, this season. Just the 5 goals scored so far, and they didn't manage one in their last league game either. Let's have a look at the side that Gary Bowyer has gone for. He actually hasn't made a change from last Saturday. Maybe unsurprisingly, considering the positive result that they got. In terms of players to look out for, Charlie Webster in particular, he's got the only 2 goals that they've scored at the Pirelli in the league this season, former Chelsea youngster. He definitely from midfield is one of those players that can create something. Jake Beasley, a big physical presence up top as well. So, we look at this and you try and pick out a couple of players, Katie, as mentioned, it's the forward areas in which they are lacking a little bit at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think I was looking at some stats earlier, and Jake Beasley is, I think his XG for goals is up there in terms of the league, but he hasn't taken those chances. So they're creating stuff. Mm-hmm. They're just not necessarily taking those opportunities when they arise. They're a team who'll look to try and get the ball wide as often as they can, use their wing backs as much as possible. I think Revan down the left-hand side has been a real big outlet for them, someone who will be dangerous and cause problems. They're a team who like to get the ball into the box early, so I think that's something that Argyle will need to be really wary of today. And I think when you match up systems in terms of both having wing-backs, it depends who's on top in the game as to how you manage those wide areas. So as we said, if we can get on top early, our wing backs push forwards and get us involved in the game, and it stops their main threats.
Yeah, and one of those threats, you mentioned Beasley there, but the other one is Webster, who's got the 2 goals in their only win so far this season, which was against Mansfield on the opening day. He got 6 goals last season. He grew up at Chelsea. He's got quality. I mean, that strike's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, fantastic finish, and I think maybe we've sort of allowed these kinds of spaces in games as well, where if you don't close players down quick enough in those areas, they'll punish you. And when you've got a player like Webster who's obviously got that quality and can finish well, it's again another one of those threats that you've got to be wary of. And it's about managing those spaces between the lines as much as you can, getting the right players in the right areas to be able to stop their threats as much as possible. Yeah,
right. Let's get the thoughts from the 2 head coaches now. We'll start with the Argyle camp. Tom Cleverley's hoping for a little bit of consistency now as we approach the second quarter of the season.
Gaffer Burton this weekend. Now, interesting one, I suppose, so get your perspective on it. The away day victory's been achieved last time out, so feeling confident there. But obviously the last league game didn't go the way we wanted, so what's the feeling heading into this next away game?
Yeah, although we reacted in the cup, it's really the league game where we want to bounce back, and the boys have done that well since we got out of the slow start. I think the boys have took 2 steps, 3 steps forward at times, and whenever we've took one back, they've gone on to move the machine forward again, and that's what it'll be this weekend. Like I said, phase 1 of reacting from a poor defeat last weekend was well executed on Tuesday, and it's all about the next phase of that, and then we really are craving some consistency. When you think of young squads, the first word that would come to mind is inconsistency. So it's my job to teach our young players how to be consistent, how to turn average days into draws and not defeats, and all things like that. So we'll get there, but we're craving a bit of consistency now, especially from a defensive numbers point of view.
Burton then, they are bottom of the table like Peterborough were last year, just the 1 win, but every game has challenges. So where are the challenges going to lie this weekend, do you feel?
Yeah, I thought they had a really solid performance against Huddersfield last weekend, and they had some good chances to win the game themselves. They were intense, really well organised, out of possession. So chances, we're going to have to really work hard to make our chances, to be creative, to want to beat your man 1v1, and ultimately to finish. So I'm expecting a tough test, a physical side in terms of height, so that'll be challenging. But we have to hit our performance levels. We have to be more consistent, and if we are, we give ourselves a good chance of winning the game.
Good at something.
Yeah, Tom Cleverley there talking to me a little earlier on. Obviously, I meant to say Peterborough last week, not last year. So I think that's obvious to everybody. He was mentioning just getting a bit of consistency in games, but not necessarily consistency in results, which obviously is wanted, but consistency within the game. So defensively in particular, you mentioned it right at the start, 18 goals conceded in 9 matches. That's 2 goals a game basically conceding. And even in matches where we're dominant, we're conceding goals as well. So what can you do, I suppose, to kind of stop that? Certainly in those dominant matches.
the big thing for me is concentration. And I think, at this level of football, you switch off for a split second and you get punished for those moments. Whether that's as a centre half, you don't step up with everyone else, or as you're holding midfielders, you don't track your runner for half a second and they're gone, they're in behind you. So for me, the key thing is can they be always at it and concentrating the whole time to stop those moments from happening. I think it's how you play off each other as well, in terms of, again, you look at goals that we've conceded, you look at the Peterborough game last week, it's a save, who's the first to react? It's the striker. If you're ready in those moments, those are goals that you can cut out. Again, you can look at it from, should the keeper parry that away? Should the defenders be kind of on it in terms of picking up second balls? But it's those small moments that cost us in games and have consistently cost us in games this season. So those moments of individual stuff, but then you look at it as a collective unit as well. Who's picking up second runners, who's if you make a mistake, who's then getting you out of trouble? Are players close enough in the system to be able to cover when you need a bit of cover? So that kind of link between the defensive units is so important as well, and that's not just as defenders, that's as a whole team. And even as far as looking at your pressing, when are you pressing? Are you getting that bit right? If you press from the front well, you prevent these opportunities where teams can counter-attack. So, they talk about defensive consistency. You always first and foremost think about what the defender's doing.
Yeah, of course.
But actually, that comes from the whole setup of the team. And, if you can win the ball back early, you can win it back high up the pitch. How many moments of those counter-attacks do you actually stop in a game? And I think that's what he's looking for, is that, getting all of those things right is really difficult. And when you start to do that, you'll win games consistently.
Yeah. Well, one man who's in charge of trying to get a team that will try and break through Argyle today is Gary Bowyer, the Burton boss. They may be bottom of the table, but they did put in that impressive display against Huddersfield, as Tom Cleverley was mentioning earlier. And Gary Bowyer is no doubt hoping that they can return home and take on Argyle this afternoon with a little bit more energy.
Not going to be an easy game again.
No,
it just feels like they keep coming round.
Oh gosh, I think the EFL looked at us, didn't they, and they went, look, wow, what did you do last season and stayed up miraculously? So what we're going to do is we're going to put all the top teams with the biggest budgets right at the beginning of the season, and you can deal with that one, and that's what we're going to do.
Is that quite helpful in a way? It almost gets it out of the way, and you do have a more favourable run at some point.
Yeah, no, I'm tongue-in-cheek there, because in my opinion, it doesn't matter when you play them and who you play, because I think, you can't be disrespectful to teams that we're saying aren't up there or aren't spending as much money as that. Every game in this league is going to be really hard, and we've experienced that so far, and we'll experience it again on Saturday.
Of course, it's not all down to money, is it? In
No,
football, once you're over the white line, anything can happen.
Yeah, exactly, and that's it. I mean, I'm making reference to budgets a lot, but that's fact. Does it mean that we just lie down and die? No, and you saw that last week at Huddersfield. And so, we, like I say, what I was really pleased with was the heart that we showed last week, and we've got to go and show that heart all the way through this season. And like I say, I'm fully aware of the challenge that we face, but we showed last season what is capable when everybody comes together. And this, like I say, this club this team was coming together after what I saw last Saturday.
Just finally from it, how big would a win be?
Oh, of course.
In terms of just getting that win?
Well, it's just the next game, so we want to win it. It's as simple as that. The players came in a confident mood on Monday, but like we've been saying to them, we have to focus on what we can control. And as long as we've got the intensity, as long as we've got, like I say, our attitude and our energy, then anything's possible.
Yeah, it has been a tricky start for them. If you do look back through their fixtures, obviously Huddersfield last weekend, they've played Luton, they've played Lincoln, who are flying this season. They played Barnsley earlier on as well. They have had tough matches, as Gary Bowyer was saying there. But they'll want to start actually getting some wins, getting some goals even at home, won't they?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think we've seen here what it's like when you can have a really good run at home, and how that kind of can set you up for a consistent run of games and a consistent run of results. So yeah, without a doubt, they'll be wanting to kind of get that monkey off their back, I guess, as quickly as they can, and they'll want that to start today. But our job is to go there and unsettle them and make that really difficult for them.
Yeah, and it will be one of those matches, I'd imagine, where it will be tight, like you said. It's a small pitch up there. There aren't a huge amount of deficits and goals. I think Luton did beat them 3-0 there, but like the way in which they performed last weekend against Huddersfield in particular, you can see them being really tricky to break down. And then if they do convert any of those chances that they have created, that's the danger for Argyle, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And yes, they obviously haven't scored in a while, but results haven't been favourable for us going there recently either. So there's lots of permutations you can look at. The last few games, I think we've gone away and we've drawn. We've had score draws away. So it is going to be a difficult game today, and one that, again, you look at the league position and you think, this is a really great chance for us to go there. Does it change things for them being the home side? Obviously away, they were away last weekend at Huddersfield, and I think it's easier then to sit in and be a bit more defensive. When you play at home, the expectation is almost that you play on the front foot and you're sort of more of the attacking side. So, it'd be interesting to see, can they go out and do that, or are they just going to sit in and let Argyle have the majority of the possession of the ball and see if they can play on the counter attack. So yeah, it could be a fascinating game today.
Yeah, it could be. But we started the show by kind of saying there's a kind of a little bit of confidence around an away performance at the minute. That's just based on the fact we won our last one and actually looked quite decent in it. But if you could string 2 away wins together in a row heading into a home game next weekend, I don't know. It becomes less reliant for Argyle that they have to win games here, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And we have been so reliant on the last few seasons' results here. Our away form has been, quite frankly, atrocious. For the last couple of seasons. So today definitely gives you that chance to go and as you say, put a little run together of back-to-back victories on the road, and the following that we get away from home, I think those fans deserve to see some performances on the road as well. So it's a good opportunity, and obviously, as we said last week, wasn't very good. You want them to go and react off the back of that. They went and scored 6 goals in midweek in the cup, and you think, okay, well, the confidence is there again. So can you build off the back of that? And yeah, you go and get 3 points today and everyone's in a much happier place again.
Absolutely they are. Right, we're about to find out what is going to happen at the Pirelli Stadium. Will Argyle be able to get their first ever victory away from home against Burton? Well, you can go and get your match passes now if you haven't already from our website, pafc.co.uk. Rob McNichol and Joelle Grant are standing by for commentary. Argyle against Burton is up next.